Welcome to the Vincier Project, an H-hour production where we help people become more skilled, more competent, and more brave when they're facing the most difficult circumstances of their life. I hope you enjoy our podcast. All right. The Vincier Project, we're back at it. I'm starting to clear up a little bit, right? A little less pollen in the world, and hopefully that stuff's getting blown away and swept away, but I definitely am sensitive to it. And, it's every time this part of the year, right? Like I'm not overly allergic, allergy, something, yet I do feel it. I get it, especially in the morning when I wake up. It sound equally as bad as I did last podcast, but I feel 90% better, and that's a good thing. Man, hey, we're in June now. This thing keeps moving right along, and I'm just super proud of what it's become. It's serving a purpose. There's a handful of people that really enjoy it. They look forward to it. They're giving me great feedback, and I'm just humbled by that. I'm proud of that. I'm grateful that people spend that 10 to 15 minutes, take a dose of whatever H-hour is doing or talking about. And so I wrote a couple notes for today's podcast, and I have this list, like a ledger, kind of worked out with Jamie, different topics and subjects, and how do you intersect all them? And is there a rush to get to a particular topic? I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Today's a little bit impromptu, yet there's kind of a thread in there. So I'll do my best to kind of organize it based on what I have noted here. So the first part is, hey, good people don't litter. You know, that's something I've been working with. I chat with different people, but observing different behaviors. And I guess there's the one-offs and situational things that can happen at times. Yet as a practice, I would say good people don't litter. You know, I think it's a good rule. It's an unattractive quality or behavior in other people, you know, and if they're okay with that, it's probably not my kind of person. I don't need to fix everybody's behavior or call them out or consult or point fingers. I don't really go around people who do that kind of thing, at least knowingly. You know, and I think it's a self-respect thing. I think it's so much about like good people do or don't litter. I think it's just more about like, all right, like the rapper was kind of close. Yet it's just, for me, it's the indicator that there could be so many other things going on beyond the scope of that we're not able to stop, especially if we see it and then pick it up and put it in the trash. So, you know, and this is a combination of things I've seen recently. Like one of the leadership things, I watched a dude throw a bottle, a grown adult throw a bottle in a trail up in the sky and broke the glass, right? Like, you're not a leader, dude. You're in front of your colleagues and you did that. Like, what is that? You know, and then another time I saw a kid throw a bottle on the beach. That triggered me, and I went right to the office and chatting with Brooke. I'm like, hey, like, I don't particularly appreciate that behavior. That triggers something for me. And you see somebody wobble, right? And so, like, I don't know. It's a good rule for me with my kids. I tell them, like, hey, good people don't litter. It doesn't mean that that's a terrible person or necessarily a criminal. It's just good people don't litter. I don't know. And then what about the sea turtles and the seagulls and like wildlife? I don't know. I think about that. So I think it's just a self-respect thing. Man, about the self-respect thing, man, Breach the Beach. Breach the Beach is happening again, right? June 2026, we're doing it again. The sad thing is Wally's had a fire in their kitchen or somewhere in their space. So it's going to be the first year, probably 5 years, we're not doing the post-event meal there. And that disappoints me. It's Wally's just a great place, man. Super pro-veteran, just great in our community, just pro-community, right? Like, and they have good stuff. It's the right spot. So we're not doing that this year. We're going to go down the street. We're going to move over to, I don't know which place. I want to say La Cabanita. Brock and Mary figured that out, which is good because it leads to the next part, right? Like, hey, something changes in the plan. We got to adjust and figure out what's going to work for the full event. So huge year though, right? Breach the Beach, something we do every year. And it's taking a look at leadership and getting people going and having conversations. And, you know, for the sake of this podcast, I jumped on the chat GPT here, I'm sorry, Gemini. And I just typed in like, hey, Breach the Beach at H-Hour. And it refers to an intensive physical leadership and mental conditioning event hosted by the H-Hour coaching program. I think it's kind of true. I don't think that's entirely false. And then it gives the bold, right? It gives you a bunch more details, but it says mental conditioning. I agree with that, or 100%. Adaptive leadership. Yeah, because situationally dependent, we have to be a particular type of leader in that particular moment. I think that's 100% true. I don't think it's nice and neat like the academics want to say. I think about Breach the Beach. I think about the nexus of why it was created for Mary and I. It's homage to the World War II folks that invaded Europe and Operation Overlord. And, you know, we inject versions of like Eisenhower was a strategist and he was great at his type of management, kind of having the hidden hand in things and making things work. Whereas some of the other folks that were working, Pat and Montgomery and some of them, like they had a different personality and huge egos. And how do you tease through that? So operational control has been given up, right? That's the nexus, how we started. We're doing our beach events. There's some physical perseverance. You're going to walk on the beach for 4 hours. And Mary and I have gone back and forth over years to figure out what's the lowest level of movement we would be required to get the impact or effect or output necessary to have an effective event. And walking on the beach is telling, right? You get a little bit of sand in your shoes, and it's kind of telling who you are. And for Brooke and I, it's just a wonderful opportunity to observe any sort of counselors we're onboarding or bringing into the team, whether they're interns or fully licensed or not, to work with us. And, we're looking for partners, and part of that is doing the beach event. Right? You can call it what you want, right? HR probably wouldn't agree that it's a good idea to disagree, but the requisite level of capacity for the work we do is you need to be able to walk for 4 hours with sand in your shoes. I think it is very, very fair. And I can't think of too many exceptions in the future that we'll have, but they might be out there. They definitely might be out there. I don't know, or not. I don't know. Whatever. But physical perseverance, and then no elite fitness required. Like I mentioned before, walking on the beach for 4 hours. And then they talk about the tactical parallel, which we read about Operation Overlord, which was the invasion into Europe and hitting all those beaches, the Canadians and the British and all the Americans, and then bearing extreme pressure, right? So facing a high stakes scenario with unpredictable weather, you accept the total responsibility, famously preparing a letter, taking the blame if the beach landings failed. And we talk about that stuff at the training sometimes. And then decisive action, right? Where he gave the order to let's go. And so this coming Saturday on June 6th, which is really, really exceptional, really special for Mary and I, is Brock's going to take lead, right? And I've done a few events. Mary hasn't done any of these events yet. I've done a few of them. Brock's done a few of them. And the reason he's probably the ideal candidate is that, look, he was an NCO or senior enlisted in the Coast Guard. Dude is like done stuff in the Atlantic and the Pacific and all sorts of levels and capacities operationally. And he's led men and women and worked through some things. And he's had to support other men and women and vice versa. And he knows things, and he's a student athlete. And he's just moving into his next phase of his professional career. So the timing of it selfishly just aligned for Mary and I, because historically, Breach to Beach very specifically is just an amalgamation of our best practices over the course of 10 months when we start putting it on paper. Over the last year, Mary and I will talk about the things we've dealt with and weave them in. And this year, Mary's kind of given up some operational control over to Brock, which is a thing of beauty, right? Because when you start something, you never know who and what's going to come along to be able to support, make it better, improve upon, test out their own stuff, right? Because if it gives them a safe and effective place to have a soft landing post Coast Guard, then it's valuable to him and it's valuable to H Hour. And then think about the participants. They get to receive all that good information and share that and mull that over and think about it. And then breakfast, La Cabanita, I want to say is where they said, but I don't want to misquote there, but at breakfast afterwards, and we're breaking bread and talking about what the morning was. And then by 11 a.m., folks are back with their family, and it's hard to forget what happens on that beach, depending on the type of event, because they've never been the same. So no one H-hour beach event has ever been the same thing. And we've had enough people do multiples that could attest to that. Like, yeah, I did a bunch of walking on the beach and training and hiking. And then next thing you know, we're doing max effort bench presses with Vince. So that's what the event is. It's just very generalized, and there's threads and themes. So I'm really excited to see what Brock comes up with. What I'm I'm equally excited for is, man, I'm going to be doing the event, right? And so apparently there's a team portion. And I hope I get a good team. Um, I hope Brooke is on a different team, right? Because we work close together and we're competitive. And any like novice counselors or young professionals that are there thinking about, hey, do I want to work with HR or is this part of my thing? We just want them to be hyper aware of what this thing is. It's like we are just really competitive people that have a vision, and we have a way that we think people can do good therapy and serve other people and have fun, help people, and make money doing it in that process. And it's an unpopular belief structure in our field, and I just offer the alternative. And what we're finding is like you find the right types of students that want that kind of thing in their lifespan. And that's who we're aligning with. So this beach event is an expression of that, but it was designed for the long run for me, my wife, my family. Who can we bring along in this thing? Who can we serve? How can we help other people? And how can we celebrate once or twice a year on the beach with a little bit of physical movement? Do it right. I tell Mary all the time, I was like, if we do this right, it's like, we're old and gray with grandkids on the beach and their teams and their people, new friends, new family, and it continues to expand and express what it needs to be. Yeah, because I think that's what it's designed to be. It's a good place. It's an incubator to help people learn about themselves and who they're trying to become, what they're trying to do. But yeah, Breach the Beach, man. There's a degree of intensity, and I'm looking at my notes here, and I'm really interested to see what Brock does and how does he handle the group, right? How does he manage expectations for people? Does he allow people to struggle during the event? And sometimes that's difficult for people is like watching that somebody's getting their butt kicked by something, whatever the thing might be. And as long as it's not a safety violation or they're not putting themselves in a position to do harm to self or others, my experience as a coach or facilitator says you have to allow that person to struggle or to be lost or to wander or be frustrated and or discouraged if it's in a safe, effective, and efficient way. Like a little bit of discouragement in the safety of a beach event with H-Hour is where you want to have that stuff come to the surface. So it'll be good. Uncle Jack is coming down for this one. He's been MIA for onesie twosie events, and it's all good. I'm gonna break him off. I just make sure I beat Uncle Jack and we'll be good. And get to fight back against what my daughter's saying about me getting fluffy and all that. She's right. She's right. I'm thinking about that stuff. But yeah, Brock's gonna be great, man. I think Brock, in my opinion, is setting himself up for a soft landing post graduate school, right? Whether he goes where he goes or does what he does. So we're honored in a special way to have him come along with us for maybe it's one event, maybe it's 20 years of events. Maybe he jumps into the H-Hour machine and starts seeing clients, but it doesn't particularly matter because I'm trying to give it all away. And so if this is a bridge for him to get to the next thing that's good for him and his family, I'm always going to be about that stuff. I think it's mutually supportive, and I don't get upset about that stuff one way or the other. I just think a little bit of transparency always helps everybody in the story. I think it just helps people in the story. Yeah, big summer coming. A lot of podcasts. The wall's still not done behind me. Aunt Jamie's coming back in. She's got to consult and tell me to fix all the things that are messed up. My son's now crying and outside the office because that time of the day. And yeah, it's all part of it. It's time to wrap up the podcast. And I have other stuff I want to talk about, but today I think we're in a good spot. Breach the Beach, we'll process that next week, and then I'll jump into some other stuff here. But man, if you're looking for a leadership event, consultation, or a way to collaborate or partner, and you've made it this far, and we have something that you think could serve you, we'd love to hear from you. I believe that we do a good job of that. And I think we have a diverse range of people to serve in those capacities. Or not, right? Don't reach out. But I think the Vincier Project is well on its way to continuing to serve my clients and anybody that listens or follows what we're doing. I think is getting something from it. And I look back at my notes here and man, like some referrals coming through and referencing our CEUs and talking about onboarding 2 new people. We got Allie coming in and we got some interviews coming up. Excited for Allie on the beach too, right? How cool is that? Hey, I'm going to work at this small business. I have my career over here. I have a fancy degree and I'm at this crossroads of my life and what I'm doing and my age, whatever. And like, hey, I'm going to take a flyer on Vincent Brook and I'm going to go on the beach and connect with them. And like, I think that's pretty cool. Like I think about my experience in the military and it's like, yeah, like you want to do PT once in a while with the leadership of the team or the company or the platoon or whatever. And you want it to be intimate and hard and difficult because that makes the more difficult conversations down the road much more approachable and much, much easier to engage in because the frame of reference of memory is from, hey, remember we had sand in our shoes on the beach? That's kind of what this paperwork is, or this clinical skill, or the way we're managing this, or whatever the thing might be. That's the frame of reference to build out all future conversations from a place of empathy and a culture of respect, understanding that, look, sometimes when you're serving people, it's a hard thing to do, yet we don't expect anybody to be a servant for anyone else in our storyline. So, and that applies to Brock and to Allie, right? We just want to find really, really talented, capable people. We want to collaborate and conspire with them and align our vision and future selves and just watch them be great and amazing. And if that requires sacrifices on the front end to get to that point, I think that's a good thing. And I want to be able to serve that capacity for uh, our next generation of counselors, social workers, therapists coming into the field, and they have some things that they want to do because the world needs somebody to talk to at times. And if we're going to create that platform, I'd like us to do that for as many people as we possibly can. So, but Breach is the expression of that. It is the expression of that. Excuse me. And man, you're going to see Brock in action. Hopefully it doesn't mess it all up, but Mary and I are pretty good developmentally and we'll give him feedback and then we'll talk bad about him behind his back. It'll be another good event. Cool. See you guys next week. Enjoy.